So it is the month of March, and y'all know what that means. It's Women's History Month, the time of year where we celebrate all the lovely ladies in our lives. And right here, we're going to be celebrating the dopest female MCs who don't get enough shine. I'm not talking about the usual names. You can go see a million videos on the usual suspects. But I want to shout out the women who don't get the flowers that they deserve.
Hold on. I'm going to let you finish. But
wait a minute. I'm not even talking about Beyonce. So
hold on.
What's up?
I just want to make sure that as you are giving overlooked female MCs their love,
right,
that you don't forget about my girl Left Eye.
Well, I cannot forget about Left Eye. Left Eye is dope.
Yes, and she often gets overlooked, I think, because she was in an R&B group.
Very true.
And so people don't associate her with hip hop. But she was so good. She had this way of, TLC's music was really relatable, of course, but she had a way of making it even more relatable because she kind of broke down everything. Waterfalls is a great example of that.
True.
Her flow is just incredible.
Indeed.
Her lyrics just on another level. She just deserves all the love.
I am not against that at all. Left Eye absolutely deserves love, not just this month, but every month. See, this is why we got married. I totally agree with you on that. It's all good.
Also, Beyonce is my favorite rapper. Bye!
See, you give them an inch, they gonna take a mile. Beyonce got y'all wearing these cowboy hats and just stepping all out of order. Today we're going to talk about 9 underrated albums from female MCs that don't include Beyonce. Thank you for joining us for another edition of the Soul and Stereo Sessions here on YouTube. And yep, players, you heard right. It's Women's History Month. So we are going to put ladies first. And we're going to talk about 9 albums from female MCs that I don't see y'all talking about enough. So if y'all want to talk about them, we're going to talk about them here. And we're going to show love to them. We're going to go through the decades. And of course, I could do way more than 9. I could do 900. So we're just going to pick 9 of my favorites. And maybe we'll do some more later on. But I want to show love to these 9 albums and artists from artists that don't get enough love. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to put it down. The thing that I have always said about female MCs is that they've always had to work harder than men. So a lot of times, the female MCs are doper than the male MCs. I've always said the best male MCs often aren't as good as the best women. And I know people getting their feelings about it, but it's for real. Because women have to be twice as good, twice as hard, twice with their storytelling, twice with their delivery just to get noticed. And these are 9 women who do that. But before we go into celebrations, let's do some of that housekeeping, player. Make sure you hit a like on this video. Make sure you hit share once we are wrapped up. And make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're getting real close. We're getting real close to that magic number on the channel. So help your boy out. I would be very ecstatic. I'm one of the smaller creators. I'm not one of these big channels that got like 500,000 subscribers. If I hit like a couple thousand, I'm going to be super happy. And all it takes is a click from you. And I appreciate y'all for all you do. So let's also show 9 women that we appreciate how much love we have for them. 9 albums that are slept on, but we are not sleeping anymore. First up is an album we've talked about before on previous videos, but I'm talking about it again because she deserves it. It's the Lady of Rage, Necessary Roughness. So in the early 90s, Rage came out with Afro Puffs, and we just knew she was gonna blow up because that song was so big and such a big deal. I believe it was off the Rim soundtrack, above the Rim soundtrack. I'm sorry, and it got a lot of buzz, and it was at the time where the West Coast was really still the dominant force. But this album didn't drop until 1997 because, you know, Death Row by 1997 had a lot of issues going on. And so this one, I believe, was the last Death Row release under Interscope. So this one really got lost in the shuffle, which is a shame because the album is incredible. Her single, Get With The Wickedness, was crazy. There's so many gems on this because she has this very forceful, fast flow, but she can pull it back when she wants to as well. It's a very deliberate pace, and it's something that I really have a problem with in today's modern hip-hop, where everybody raps like they either half asleep or don't care or so unbothered to be in the booth. No. Lady of Rage is spitting like every syllable her last meal depends on it, and I love to see that energy. This album, if you love ferocity and delivery and you love lyricism, this album is a must. And I think it still holds up today with some great production. So check it out. Rage is great. Another VA homie, worthy of your praise. Up next is a name that some of y'all might not be familiar with, but get familiar. It's Queen Pen, My Melody. Some of y'all are like, well, who is Queen Pen? Let me put two and two together for you. If you know, of course you would probably know, I don't see how you wouldn't. If you don't know, get off this channel right now and go educate yourself. The absolute classic single from Blackstreet, No Diggity. There in some versions, because sometimes they chop it off of the radio version, there is a woman who just starts rapping at the end. That woman is Queen Pen, Teddy Riley's protege, an incredible, forceful MC in her own right, and she dropped her own album circa 1997, I believe, 96, 97, My Melody, and it was really good. It really followed the tropes of the day where she had Party Ain't a Party, which was a fun party single, really fun song. And then she had like the R&B samples with All My Love, which of course sampled Luther. And that really put her on the stage as like following the blueprint. And the album was really good. She's a great MC. But it just kind of got lost in the shuffle in that Foxy Brown, Lil Kim era where they were dominating everything. Queen Pen just kind of got lost, and then she had some beef with Foxy and blah, blah, blah. I won't even get into that. But if we're talking about the album is very strong, and I think it should have led to greater things for her in a different era. Like if she dropped maybe 2 or 3 years later, I think she would have had a better chance of standing above the pack. Or maybe a year or two earlier, maybe she could have broke out. But she just kind of landed in that space where it was a little noisy and she missed out, which is a shame. She's a great talent. I still run this album every once in a while. Queen Pen is dope. Here's another female MC who we thought was going to be the one, and still could be the one. This is Remy Ma, and her debut, There's Something About Remy. So Remy was coming off of a huge star-making run from Terror Squad because she was just the female of the group, and she always went hard. They always had her in a feature spot. She was so great. So we were all ready for her debut in the mid-2000s when it dropped. And you know what? This thing was a very good. She had the hot single with Conceited, which is still funny to me. Every once in a while I'll see it on a TikTok reel and I'm like, oh, that Remy did it with that thing. But not just that. An overall project was very strong in my opinion. But again, unfortunately, there are some other extenuating circumstances where the album didn't get the push that it deserved. It kind of got lost in the shuffle, and then she had some legal stuff she was dealing with, and then she came back, and then she's sniping with Nicki Minaj, and don't get me started on that. But that should not diminish the talent that Remy brings to the game, and she's still dope today. There is still time for a Something About Remy Part 2 to come back and to hit harder. I'm ready for it because she is one of the most underutilized talents in the past 15 or so years. Man, 20 years now. Jeez, I'm old. Come on, Remy, we need you back. This proves that she still has some talent and some fire to her. Need some fire in these lyrics. Bring it to us, Lemmy. Next up is Jean Grae This Week. So we'll talk about an artist a little bit later on, but in the mid-2000s when people were like, oh, where are all the good female MCs? Just like y'all bring up that one person today who we'll get to. People often back circa 2008 or so always brought up Jean Grae for obvious reasons, because Jean Grae is incredible. So often you will hear, when you hear Jean Grae, you will hear her album Genius. That's the one that everyone kind of runs to as the definitive Jean Grae album. This Week, though, I feel like is very good, vastly underrated, and this is the album that kind of made me a fan of Jean. And I know that the collabo with Ninth is the one that everybody gets hype over, but the same level of quality is here. Of course, the beats I wouldn't say aren't as good as the Genius project across the board, but when it comes to the storytelling and just the focus that she has, the lyricism, it's pretty undeniable. You listen to that song Going Crazy. Listen to that song and you can't tell me that you aren't going crazy while listening to that song by design. Like, I've heard a song where you hear the writer just kind of losing it while they're writing. That level of storytelling and creativity is what makes Jean such an incredible MC. She is for sure one of the more underrated ones of all time. And look, Genius is great, but y'all check out This Week too, because that one is just as good. Alright, so we're gonna hit you with a kind of more modern artist, so y'all don't say, oh, he always talking about old stuff. No, there are dope female MCs doing it even right now. And one of those, of course, is Lil Sims. And one of my favorite recent albums is No Thank You. So, Sims, most of you watching this probably already know Sims. You know Gray Area. Sometimes I Might Be Introvert. Those albums are the two that people always talk about. But I really like this album from a couple years ago. It still has the influence of Inflo, who is her longtime producer who works with her, and they just have incredible chemistry. But I love that whenever you see a Sims track, I know some people are like, oh, I'm thrown by her accent. Grow up, player. People have accents. But look beyond that and look at the actual lyrical dexterity is what I like to call it. I put y'all on a new word today. The ability to just flip from flow, just from within the same verse, and to keep the context straight and to ride the beat at the same time. She is really an underrated artist in terms of just lyrical skill and delivery, and that shines through on No Thank You. It doesn't have the lofty legacy of the other two albums. It kind of came out like tucked at the end of the year and then kind of like got a little bit of buzz and then kind of petered out a little bit. But this one, I believe I might spin more regularly than the others. Very underrated from a very underrated artist who still has time to grow. So y'all help her grow and check this album out. Check out all three, but I think this one is the one that really stuck to my ribs. Alright, next up is a name that all of y'all should know. Rhapsody, The Idea of Beautiful. Can I go on one of my rants real quick? I know my boy D Roth is shaking his head behind this camera, but look, I'm going to go on one of my rants real quick. Here's my problem with y'all and Rhapsody. Because whenever there's a controversy that comes up about the current state of female MCing, how everybody sounds the same, how everybody is just like a clone of Megan or a clone of Nicki, or everybody just sounding like fake Migos or whatever, and you're not wrong. The first person they bring up is, oh, well, we got Rhapsody. Why do we have more Rhapsody? Okay, name a Rhapsody song. What's your favorite Rhapsody album? Oh, I don't really listen to her like that. Then you part of the problem, homie. If you know that you want more from your female MCs and you have an artist like a Rhapsody, you got a Lil Sims, you got a Shay Noir, you got these artists who are Chica, who are bringing something different to the table, and you only use them for Twitter arguments, but you ain't listening to them yourself? That's why I get mad at y'all, because y'all don't keep the same energy. I'm going to keep the same energy because I'm not even going to talk about the Rhapsody albums that most folks know. I love Layla's Wisdom. I think that's her best album. I might want to call it her breakout. I think it's her best. I love Eve, her most recent album. Incredible album. Both of those are close to 5-star albums to me. She's got a new album that's about to drop. Maybe it'll be out by the time this video drops. Who knows? Because nobody promotes albums anymore. Stuff just drops. I don't know. But this is where it started. She had laid the foundation. But the idea of Beautiful is really where she really became to grow into her own, into the artist that we love. So if you like her now, go back to the beginning, starting here, and look at how her journey has begun. Because this album is great. She holds her own. I mean, you got Mac Miller's Ab-Soul on this thing, the Cool Kids, and she stands out even among those mid-2010s heavy hitters that people celebrate. For whatever reason, she doesn't get that same love. As an overall project, it's really good. I would not say it's as strong as the other two, but it shows that it has the chops to be as strong. So if we want to talk about an artist that is the flag bearer for female MCs, as we should, go back and celebrate the work that put them on. I bet many of y'all have not heard this album. You need to hear it. It's very good. So yeah, we should be celebrating Rhapsody, but not just in Twitter arguments. Run her streams up is what I'm saying. You tired of these whack people? Run the streams up of the ones who deserve it. I love Rhapsody, so I'll fight for her, but I'm also going to listen to her albums. Get on this one. Next is No Name and Room 25. When I was doing this list, I was kind of looking around online to make sure I didn't leave anything off. And of course, you see different people shouting out different albums. But I was really surprised that a lot of people consider this album to be one of the greatest albums by a female MC of all time. It's very good. I don't know if I go that far, but it is very good. And I'm glad to see that it has such a strong legacy. Plus, No Name is usually pretty dope. Her last album, Sundial, was easily a top 10 album last year. And of course, Telephone, the breakout EP, shout out to Diddy Bop, that's still my song. That's really put her on the stage to kind of grow and evolve as an artist. But this one, to me, is such a good album because it shows all of the aspects of what she is. It's got this soulful, jazzy backdrop. She's hitting you with the storytelling. She's not hitting you over the head with a lot of concepts that she kind of would do later on that, you know, for good or bad reasons, but that's another debate. But she's able to tell her story and inject that humor into it as well that makes it very relatable. It's not only just a female MC spitting, not just telling stories, but she's telling things is making it relatable because it's like a fun conversation with a friend. That's why this album works so well. I know No Name comes with a lot of controversy, some good, some bad. But if you stick to the music, y'all, she rarely misses. And this one is a proven commodity. I was actually very surprised that so many people have had such high regard for this album. I'm one of them, so yeah. Y'all do something right every once in a while. Good for you. I'm proud. I know this one's gonna throw some of y'all off, but I gotta do it because it's for the ladies. Let's talk about Mia X and her album Unladylike. Now, many of you know, I have made it no secret. I am not the biggest fan of the No Limit Soldiers run of 97. It was too much, and it was not great. The majority of it was not. I'm sorry. I'm not disparaging black businesses, blah, blah, blah. Whatever, keep your think pieces to yourself. I ain't like it. I'm sorry. Most of it was not hitting for me. Especially when they unleashed Silk the Shocker on the world, and y'all have to talk about unorthodox flow. It's not unorthodox, it's offbeat. That's what we had to deal with in 97, now everybody's doing it. But one of the shining stars of that era was Mia X. I loved her because she had such a presence. While everybody else was just like, I don't know what they're doing on these songs. She had such a presence on these beats. So you had these great beats from the No Limit beat makers, and she was able to stand out every time. My one complaint about this album is because of the No Limit album, it had like 94 features on every song. But the thing that makes it dope is that, you know, she's the big boss lady on every song. So she's gonna stand out no matter who's around. She just absolutely has a presence on the mic that just captivates. This is one of the more underrated albums from like a Southern artist. Not just female artists, but Southern artists of that era. She held it down. Great release, and yeah, I'm showing love to a No Limit album. Ooh, what a thought. Surprised even myself. And we're gonna wrap it up with one of my personal favorites, Miss Jade, Girl Interrupted. So in 2003, I was so excited for this album, and it shouldn't surprise most of y'all. Most of y'all know I'm a big old Timbaland stan because VA. I'm a big stan from everybody from VA, except my cousin. You can go check out the other video for that. But regardless of that, I was all into the Miss Jade project because she was part of Beat Club, Timbaland's group of MCs at the time. I like Petey Pablo. I thought that the Bubba Sparxxx album was super underrated. And this one was following in that same example. And I loved it because it was so diverse. Miss Jade is a great MC, but she got so many different types of MCing on this game. The single Ching Ching, what the heck is that? Like, you got Nelly Furtado literally mumbling nonsense. Timbaland drops the goofiest bars ever. And then Miss Jade just comes in and just cusses dude out in the way that she can. It's so great. And there's so much diversity here on this album. And honestly, I think that was what hurt it because they didn't know how to market it. Her first single was Big Head, which admittedly kind of sounds more like a Missy song than a Miss Jade song. Ching Ching is just chaos, in a good way, but chaos. And then we didn't even get to the more street-centric or like introspective tracks that the album has that are also really good, but just weren't able to kind of hit that level. So overall, this is a great cornucopia of hip-hop, so to speak. It shows so much that Jade can do. She can do so many different things. She does everything well. Plus, Timbaland is in the beats, and this is like early 2000s Timbaland, so he's still like in his prime before he hit his second prime later in the decade. But he was on fire here. Jade was on fire. Unfortunately, everybody missed how dope this album is. But due to the magic of the internet, you don't have to miss anymore. Check out this album. Miss Jade deserves more, and I think you'll really enjoy this one. Alright, y'all, that is 9 very, very, very underrated albums from female MCs that I'm daring you to go check out right now. Have y'all heard all 9? If you have, let me know in the comments which ones are your favorite. And let me know which ones I also left off. I'm telling y'all, there were a ton more that I wanted to do on this list. Digga Digga, birth name Rashia. I really want to do Rod Digga, but I was like, I've talked about her before. Maybe again, part 2, we can come back and do some more. Y'all let me know if you want a part 2, we can do that. This edition of the Soul and Stereo Sessions is a wrap. Ladies, this was one for you. Play on, ladies.